Hello, all. As a heads up, this is a longer podcast than normal. Joey and I discuss a ton of topics ranging from espresso machines, Japan's recent elections, Trump tariffs, to brainstorming about our future trip of doing the Kumano Koto Trail. In the later half, we discuss some of the new features we're launching on AkiyaMart, so feel free to look at the show notes, pick a topic you want to listen to. And again, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Welcome back to the Buying a House in Japan podcast. My name is Take, today joined by my co-host Joey. How you doing?
Pretty good. Number one Akiya podcast in the world. We are back.
We are so back, baby. We realize we have had a lot of new listeners, so just a quick reintro. Again, my name's Take. This is Joey. We are college friends who studied abroad in Japan. We went our separate ways, had adventures in tech, and we decided to buy an Akiya in Japan.
And now we got six. We got six Akiyas in Japan. We started a website, AkiyaMart.com. Go check it out. You can browse a bunch of different listings, properties available in Japan right now, and we can also help you purchase.
Yep, we've helped about close to 100 people purchase at this point, all over Japan, any price, anywhere, all in English. I think we can now confidently say we can get people across the finish line.
We learn so much every month. I feel like I just recently learned a lot more about what a judicial scrivener does. We got a podcast about that as well. Check it out. But yeah, learning more and more about the real estate world as the months go by.
Okay, Joey, today's topics, we're going to do a little bit of a fun podcast. As we are closing in on episode 100, we're actually at episode 91, Joey. To keep these podcasts
Okay, 100 coming up soon. Before the summer's over, we're going to hit 100.
before the summer's over, we will hit 100. But yeah, I think something you said before this podcast, in order to keep this sustainable, we have to keep it fun. And originally we were thinking about doing like a stuffy, hey, here's some new feature podcast, but we're going to freeball it a little bit.
Yeah, we'll talk about some new features as they come up in conversation.
All right, Joey, what's been happening? How are you? Where in the world are you?
I'm back in Nova Scotia. So I was in California for a long time, about a month, and now I'm back in Nova Scotia. Just had a cousin's wedding in Toronto. That was great. Got to see a lot of family. Back in Nova Scotia now, though, and back on the AkiyaMart grind. So new stuff I'm working on. One, just released some email updates so that now people will get an update when their annual subscription is about get rid. Everyone forgets about annual subscriptions, and people, we'd always get people writing to us like, "Hey, can I get a refund? Sorry, forgot about it." So now you get an email 7 days before it's set to renew. That's new today.
Man, you've been going on a tear, Joey. I think since you came to my parents' place in Saratoga and like just dialed in, I think most people who are listeners are probably using our website. You can tell there's been a lot of changes.
Yeah, and more coming too. You know what it is? It's the sauna and the espresso machine combination.
Update on the espresso machine. I don't think we've given the fans the update. While I was gone in Japan, I sent Joey all these extra parts. How have we upgraded espresso machine?
So Take bought himself a Gaja Classica. It's actually the Gaja Classica Evo. I don't know what the difference between the regular and the Evo is, but anyways, it's the Evo version. And I don't know. My brother has one, and I remember him telling me about all the mods you can do. Kind of reminds me of like when I was doing a bunch of repairs on my Forerunner before a few years ago, and it seems like everyone's always talking about the Miata. So I compared it to it's the Miata of the
That's
espresso
right.
world.
It's
Of
true.
affordable and like highly moddable, but also like people love. That's the Gaja. The mods we did
You
was
did.
one was yeah, first was the pressure valve. So espresso, I believe if you go to like fancy restaurant on a commercial scale, I think it's supposed to be about 9 bars. What people will actually do for home espresso machines is they'll crank that up to around 12 bars because it depends on the beans. And so these espresso manufacturers are expecting homeowners not to have the freshest, high quality beans. To given that situation, they crank up the pressure so you still get that kind of creamy espresso foam, even with lower quality beans. But if you're the type of person that's buying good quality beans, you're going to want to bring that pressure gauge down. I don't really know why. It's just what the people do on a commercial scale. So talking about the new spring for that.
Yeah, hell yeah. Thanks for installing that. Have you actually, there's one more mod I sent over, right? The PID controller or whatever it's
Yeah,
called.
I don't know why they call it a PID controller, but I think it's a temperature control.
Mhm.
So I do think that I have a Breville here at home, and I do think that the temperature is a little bit all over the place versus using the Gadget Classica Evo at your parents' place with the PID controller. It did seem like the temperature is more consistent. I don't know why. I guess that's what this mod is supposed to do, regulate the temperature. You can set the temperature. You can do crazy stuff like pre-infusion, so you bloom your coffee for a little bit first and then you pour the shot. Anyways, a bunch of crazy stuff you can do. I didn't get that crazy with it. I just used you can set the temperature to a specific temperature to make sure you always hit that. I think it's the same thing that with when they make a home model, they do a bunch of it's like a little too smart for its own good. And they're doing a bunch of changes in the background for people that are buying low quality beans and don't really know what they're doing. But if you know what you're doing, you want these mods to give you more control.
Okay, so two mods onto the Gaja Classic. We tinkered around. I think when we first got it, Eric was visiting us and we pulled him off like a terrible shot. How much better have the shots gotten, Jerry? I'll follow up with my thoughts too.
Yeah, pretty good. I thought the shots were pretty good in the end. Honestly, I gotta say though, I think the Breville that I've got, I like the shots better from the Breville that I have
What?
here in Nova Scotia than the Gotcha. I
Okay.
don't know.
Okay.
Maybe it's the
It
beans. I'm
might
not sure.
beans. Yeah. I tested it out. I think the magic numbers is you take, let's say, roughly 18 grams of beans, and the output should be 36 grams, and it should be espresso should be made over 24 to 27 seconds. Hit all those check boxes, Joey. The beans are tasting good.
Heck, should,
Thanks for the
for
espresso.
for for anyone out there, you're totally welcome. For anyone out there listening, I feel like getting an espresso. If you just want to wake up in the morning and have coffee, like an espresso machine is not the way to go. It's really like a hobby. Like imagine waking up in the morning and like you mess up the first shot and then you mess up the second shot and like you're like, okay, third time's got to be the charm, and like you mess up the third shot and it's like you. Those are going to be the pitfalls you'll face owning an espresso machine. But if you just want coffee in the morning, I think there's better ways. It really is a hobby.
No, I'd argue the opposite, bro. We have it like once you have it dialed in, though, the coffee quality you get every morning is going to be consistently higher. I think it's close to coffee shop level if you have the good beans and you have the setup. So I like that, quality. But again, I probably drink
Mhm.
a lot less coffee. I drink coffee 11 a.m., 12 p.m., or a little bit later in the day.
Huberman style.
Yeah.
So, well, relevant to Japan and coffee, we are very, very close to selling the Nagasaki home. A little bit mess up with the
Ooh.
documents. We will make a tiny bit of profit. We did not sell this house for
Yeah.
profit. In fact, if we factor in our time and energy and probably a bunch of other stuff we forgot to calculate, probably break even. But given
Yeah.
that on no, in our bank account we'll make a little bit of profit, we should buy a Gaja Classica and mod it and put it at one of our houses in Japan.
Hell yeah, such a good idea. And on the Nagasaki thing, before we move on, it's just I would say we learned a shit ton though. I think again we didn't try to price this as high as we can. We're almost done across the sales process, selling it to a really nice family. We want to just make sure we get them onboarded before we maybe bring them on or talk about it. I think we learned so much, and we are making. I guess the one thing we don't know is taxes, like capital gains taxes in Japan. We're break even exactly as you said, but either way, let's buy an espresso machine in Tokyo.
So yeah, for first espresso machine, I think we should have it at TBC. I think that's
Okay,
where the kitchen is
done.
nice enough there.
Let's do it.
I say we do it. But on the tax thing, I could be wrong, but I believe since we are a corporation, corporations don't pay capital gains tax. They just pay
That's right.
corporate tax. So
Yeah.
that's what probably around very similar to maybe what it is in the US, 21%. So we'll see how it goes. I think so. I'm not 100% sure.
Espresso machine, we're going for it. Long tangent on this beginning to start the pod here, but I think it's worth it. We are going to let's just get it. Treat yourself.
Yeah, where do we get a sauna and an espresso? We were talking about I don't think we're gonna have enough for a sauna. Maybe
We will not
next.
have enough for
Yeah,
sauna.
because we're backed up with. Yeah, we owe a few people some money too on Sato-san. We should do. I don't know
No,
where we
give the
left off.
update. Give the update. Yeah.
So last, I think we talked about Sato-san. I think we talked about the letter that he left. Just in case I didn't mention it, let me just remind everybody, Sato-san, we bought our first house in Beppu, October 2023. We interviewed 2 contractors. We went with Sato-san over a different company because Sato-san was down for the custom things that we're building in the Beppu house, like our horikotatsu, the sunken table, 3-meter long sunken table, and our concrete shower. Anyways, long story short, we went with this guy, Sato-san, single man carpenter, and was a wild ride, ups, highs and lows. He got a lot of work done, but petered out near the end. But throughout that process, he disappeared with, literally MIA, no way to reach him several times. Always came back with a crazier and crazier story. Once he impaled metal through his femur.
Supposedly.
Allegedly. Once he was arrested and in jail, and I think that maybe the
Poor
jail
guy.
happened twice and shut down his bank. Anyways, there's something with his ex-wife was in there. A lot of drama. The dude's life is just riddled with drama. Anyways, last we left off, we had not spoken to Sato-san for maybe about 6 months, and the guy just disappeared. Right, me, who is helping us in our friend who's helping us in Beppu, has his contact information online and has been trying to contact him. Radio silence, no response. He left us a letter. So he came back to the house, unlocked the door with the key that he still has, and left us a handwritten letter inside the house. Please, Joey and Take, send
It's
me
just to you,
cash.
actually. He
Just to
said,
me.
yeah.
Please, Joey-san, send me cash to this address. Don't say there's cash in the envelope. Don't tell anyone you're sending, like that. A little bit of craziness there. And that was 2 or 3 months ago, maybe 2 months ago. And
Yeah.
we asked Fumi we still owe Sato-san about $9,000, everybody, just over $9,000, just under 10K. We still owe him. And there was stuff that he didn't do, and we're like, and we had to get a different contractor in there. We're like, do we knock off that money? I think it's just gonna be cleaner. Just pay him what we agreed to pay him, even though maybe there's a way we could argue and pay him less. I just don't think that's worth it. So we are trying to get him this money, over $9,000, but I don't know if it's like legal to send cash in the mail. And so many ways that could go wrong. He could say, oh, I never got them. Like, just too many different ways that could go. Yeah. And also, we're going to pay him from our business, and I don't want to take out cash from the business account, and maybe there's bookkeeping and accounting issues there. So we're trying to pay him with bank transfer, and he keeps saying, no, they're going to the cops are going to confiscate the money, or someone's going to confiscate the money. Like,
Yeah.
stalemate we're in right now.
Dude, we just want to pay this guy. We have the money, so this is an ongoing venture. And thank you to Fumi, who's being the face and talking to Sato. But just know, if you deal with Japanese contractors, sometimes things can go a little sideways. But we've had a lot of fun with it, I'd say.
Yeah, so we're working with Mizota-san now. His
Ooh,
actual
Mizota's
name,
cool.
Sato-san, is not Sato-san's actual name. Again, maybe. I know his real name, but for some reason he goes by an alias. Mizota-san is great, but also a little bit of a character. Like,
Super character.
not in the
Yeah.
Sato-san way, just like in his own kind of unique way. Like, when I met him, he was wearing a Canadian tuxedo, just like all denim, head to toe. He's got a ponytail, right?
Yeah, he was looking fly when I saw him. He had like striped black and white suit, and he came by and he just like looking real polished. I'm like, dang, dude, you're really going for it. So
Yeah, this is a general contractor, like wearing showing up to the site with the three-piece.
he's been excellent thus far, but yeah, we should record a video with him next time we're in Beppu.
Yeah, he was asking about that. He has his own YouTube channel, and he was excited that we have a YouTube channel and was hoping for some cross collaboration there.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's the Sato-san story. Last thing is Fumi sent Sato-san another email, or like, hey, we got to pay you for bank account. Just give us the details and they can pay you.
Yep. All right, Joe. What's been happening in the Akiya world? I think we haven't done a kind of Dear Diary series for only 2 or 3 weeks, but it seems like things are changing, things are moving. Seems like all these Trump tariff stuff, Sanseito. What's top of mind for you right now?
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Again, I'm not an expert on Japanese politics, but it has been hot in the news recently, and I've seen a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. So the Sanseito, and I think one more kind of further right party won unexpected amount of seats. Like, I think they control 22 seats out of, I don't know how many, 150, 160 in something called the upper house in Japan. I think Japan has 2 different houses for their politically elected representatives, and the upper house is the lesser powerful house. But the takeaway here is that the LDP, the Lib Dem party which has governed Japan since the 1950s. They've always been in power, except for a very brief time, I think, right after the 2008 financial crisis. They are a minority party. Not, I don't think for the first time, but they're going to have to form some sort of coalition. And I think that might cause complications for the real estate market potentially. I think a lot of the fringer parties don't want foreigners purchasing property. And again, I think a lot of this resentment is directed towards rich Chinese nationals buying up condos and towers, and much the same that people have those same grievances in Canada. People are blaming Chinese nationals for buying up real estate and driving up the home prices. But I think that's only took. It's interesting that this took over the national kind of debate when this problem is
Mhm.
so localized to Tokyo. The prices are not going up anywhere else in Japan.
Sure, did a good job summarizing. You're pretty read up on Japanese politics and government structure, Joey.
So I think like Ishiba, the current prime minister, I
Mhm.
think he may resign. So he
They
lost,
want
I
him to
think,
resign, right?
yeah. So I think he called a snap election. I think he's only been around for about a year. And when he first came on, he called a snap election. And his party, the Lib Dems, lost a bunch of seats. And then this is the second election where he's caused big losses for his party. So I think he's on his way out. Fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know. I don't really have an opinion there. I don't, again, not really an expert, but could, with the Trump tariffs coming in and the rice imports and truck imports, and things are brewing, I think, in the Japanese economy. I don't know which way it's going to fall out, to be honest.
I heard the Nikkei just like hit an all-time high yesterday.
I think the rice thing is like
There's a lot of I saw on Twitter or X there's like a lot of back and forth that was like not represented correctly or something like that.
I mean, I don't know about that, but the price of like doubled or whatever in Japan recently, and Japanese government was, they were hoarding rice, they were destroying rice. They were basically manipulating the rice market for decades now. And I think it's been pretty stable, but they reached a breaking point, I think, after a few bad harvests in a row.
Mm.
Farmers were really angry at that, and now there's not enough rice and the prices shot up. So maybe it's good in the short term to actually, I feel like from an economic standpoint, I like free trade. I definitely lean towards that. So I do think opening up Japan's economy to more agricultural products out from outside Japan is good. Take a look at how expensive fruit is in Japan. It's top quality. It's very hard to find fruit of that quality in other countries, but you pay for it. It would be nice to have the ability to buy a cheaper watermelon from the Philippines instead of paying 8,000 yen for a tiny watermelon.
There's so much pride in Japanese rice farming, though, where if they start export or importing from the U.S., it's going to be like, what the hell? This is not up to Japanese kome quality.
Yeah. You had a good point about car imports. So one of the things that Trump got through with his deal was Japan's gonna, I don't know what it was, maybe reduce tariffs on American imported vehicles or something like that. But companies aren't going to buy American trucks. One, probably a lot of pride in their homegrown industries, Toyota, Honda, etc. But also,
Yeah.
like, you need different tools. Like, literally, that's one of the problems when you work on cars is, are your tools metric or imperial? You need a whole second set of tools to work on American cars. So I'm like, okay, that's another huge factor here. But you had a really good point about Teslas.
They're coming for sure. I've
Yeah,
started seeing them more in Tokyo for sure.
I think people will buy Teslas. I agree.
I haven't seen a Cybertruck yet in Tokyo. I'm sure they're like people are frothing to get them there.
Toyota blew it with not that they resisted the switch to electric, they actively opposed it. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of Toyota nastiness in
Can
terms of the switch to electrification.
Okay, question for you. Can a Cybertruck even fit on the roads to get to any of our houses? Could a Cybertruck get to our
No,
bet boop spot? No.
definitely not. So yeah, I saw them for
What?
the first
Oh,
time in
geez.
person when I was in California. They're really big. It's a big truck. It's like an F-250, I feel like,
Yeah,
at
yeah.
least that
It's a
size.
flashy car. Actually, yeah. It definitely, I don't think it can even work. It can't even fit in parking spots in Japan.
Yeah, yeah, you're only doing you're not going into small houses, small alleyways, yeah. Don't buy the Cybertruck if you're buying a cheap Akiya, because likely that Akiya will have a
Does
small
not.
road.
Definitely. All right, Joey. I think the question listeners are thinking, like, how is this affecting the Akiya market? You feel like it's heating up, slowing down? What are we seeing with our customers and stuff like that?
I think that there could be restrictions coming. I'm not going to say it is coming. I just think that the debate is around this, but I think there could be restrictions to foreigners purchasing property in Japan. But I think likely it'll start slowly in the sense that there was talk before about just recording the nationality of people purchasing property in Japan. So at the moment, that's not even recorded, apparently. Although it does seem like we have to provide passports and a bunch of affidavits and stuff like that when you do purchase property in Japan. But apparently, officially, they're not recording it. And so I think that'll happen first. I think they'll try to figure out, all right, which nationalities are buying property in Japan. So I think that'll probably be a first step. And maybe, hopefully, maybe this is just a coping mechanism, but hopefully, if the real problem is around people buying luxury condos and driving up home prices in Japan, hopefully restrictions are around expensive properties and not on the Akiya market.
I saw something on LinkedIn that like I think there's no resales allowed in Chiyoda in 5 years or something like that. So I do expect
Or
maybe
something.
some of
Yeah.
those rules coming through for hyper affected areas.
That
But
sounds sensible to me as well.
yeah, but I agree with you. Like I think having our Japanese corporation and going through the motions with everything, like it's going to take so long for them to really put something dramatically impactful. I think to foreign buyers and specifically looking at Akias.
I
What do you
I
think?
think it's something to be aware of and maybe pay attention to Japanese news as stuff happens, but I don't think it's a concern yet. It's yeah, I'm not too concerned for the next maybe say 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would keep proceeding as is. The actual Akia true problem is such a deep one that there's no way I think for Japan's domestic population to fill and deal with these abandoned homes. To be honest, I know we got a lot of haters, a lot being like, "You guys are bringing foreigners in," but I think we're bringing but we're bringing really cool people in and really nice people. It would be a shame for them to really actually do restrict that because there's just so many abandoned homes in the countryside Japan.
Here's my take on that. Like I again, I see the Akiya mondai, the Akiya problem. Like I don't see the Akiya as the problem. They're a symptom of the problem. They're a
True.
symptom of the aging
Yeah.
demographic and sluggish economic growth. Like what if the Japanese government just bulldozed all the Akiya? Like is that a solution to the Akiya problem? Is that a yeah, does that solve it?
Yeah, that's gonna cost a lot of money. There's so many Akias.
But
And
like
like
that's
yeah.
it's a solution that doesn't
It's like
involve higher immigration.
true. Just like creating less population density in some of these areas. That also just increases problems too, right? I see what you're saying though. It's an interesting play, but it's also like a little bit multi. Dang, this is such a good house, and you guys are,
De-
yeah, yeah.
Definitely multi. But I'm just like Japan is resistant to foreigners. I feel like they always have been, likely always will be. There'll be some resistance there. And I'm just thinking, like, all right, given that, if you're a policymaker in Japan, are you trying to think, how do we solve this without increasing immigration? Because it's politically difficult to do.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. We're like good news on our end. We've finally switched our representative director. We are now more in control of our Japanese company. We're starting to get access to more accounts. It took a long time, but the deeper we get into the Japanese business and I guess systems, the more we're like, there's so much friction, man.
Yeah, we tried to do so. Big shout out to Ryan, who has joined our Japanese company, and that's a lot of things are moving smoother now that we have a Japanese national. Taki is a Japanese national,
Hey.
um, but now that we have two Japanese nationals on board with our company, things have been going much smoother. And we tried to do a Wise transfer this morning from our Japanese bank account out into the world. Every time we've used Wise so far, it's been from our American company. So this was a first for us because our SMBC bank has been so janky and it wasn't as smooth. And in fact, we didn't get it done. And it's really interesting how it works. I think it comes down to the integration with the banking system. If anyone's ever used Plaid or those other things to connect your bank account to some third party application, that seems to not exist in Japan. And how we have to do it is we actually have to go, if we want to make a transfer with Wise, we have to go into our SMBC bank account and send the money to Wise's bank account with make sure you fill in all these details correctly kind of thing. And then you go back to Wise and you say, hey, I made my transfer kind of thing. And we didn't get that far, so I don't know what happens from there. There's no integrations with Japanese bank. So there's like this manual step you need to do where
Well,
you manually send money to Wise.
I feel like this happened quite quick in the US. So like all of a sudden Plaid's like really good. We expect integrations with stuff that we've almost taken that for. I feel like I've
Yeah.
taken that for granted that like for the good, better or for the worse, everything's connected on all my accounts.
I feel like if this wasn't around like 2020, I do agree
Mhm.
it's new.
It's new. All right, Joey. I guess what are our future plans? I think we've been talking. You might be going in September. I might be going in October. Any goals or plans for our fall trip?
Yeah, I think one thing we've been trying to do with it, maybe we got, excuse me, a lot of our trips have been rush. And I think
Productive.
oh yeah, super productive. But I think like the so one of the last trips we did to Japan, we went to Yakushima in February. A little bit of profit taking, it felt like, in terms of vacation days, and that was a lot of fun. And so I think we're starting to think, all right, we need to bake in to our work trips to Japan a little bit of fun. And also the other thing we've been thinking about is a little bit of active lifestyle, whether that's like walking the Kumano Kodo trail, which is something we've been talking about, or surfing while we're down there. I think we're trying to figure that out for our fall trip. Bake in a little bit of like profit vacation days and also hopefully keep those days active.
Trade in the wealth for the health, baby. I think we've talked about this a couple times. Like we've been like 24/7 on AkiyaMart, I'd say for I don't know, a couple months at a time. And yeah, when we go on these trips, it's just like back to back meetings that it doesn't. I feel like I get sick personally. I'm sick right now a little bit. Like after these sprints because we go hard and it's worth it in retrospect, but we got to build in some healthy activities because I personally just eat too much shit. I think when I'm in Japan.
Or which are you leaning towards more?
For
Spending
what?
some time surfing or a hiking trail?
So yeah, we've been talking about surfing, but surfing just takes some time to get set up. So I think what we discussed was getting this to be like our
Get
prep
some
for the
wetsuits
next
over.
trips. Yeah, so I think this time we bring the wetsuits. I'll bring over two boards. If you can pick me up at the airport, maybe with the van, we can leave the boards in Tama and leave our wetsuits. So like, at least we're set up
Yeah.
with all the equipment. I think that's half the battle.
Yeah.
And then I've been looking at Kumano Kodo. So Kumano Kodo is a trail down. Where is it? It's a pretty long trail. Kumano. I think
I had
it's
never heard about these until that Tim Ferriss podcast episode with Craig Maud, I think.
yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, good one. People check it out. But anyways, he
Nakahechi.
talks about his journey walking these. I think they're ancient pilgrimages, or one's an ancient pilgrimage, and one is just like the old road walking trail between, I think, Kyoto and Edo, Tokyo, back in back when it was still Edo. And so there's these people will walk them still from Tokyo to Kyoto or vice versa. And then there's, I think, the Kumano Kodo is like Mie Prefecture,
Yeah,
Wakayama, that kind of area.
Wakayama, kind of in between Nada, Mie kind of thing, but on that peninsula.
Oh,
Um,
dude, I just realized something.
yeah,
Remember when we went down and in Shikoku and we met Maigo Mika for the first time? We did a podcast with her way back, and we saw that dude wearing the
yeah,
straw
exactly.
hat
Yeah,
walking,
he
and
was the guy.
and we stopped for him, and he was like, I don't know. I thought I've had a rude attitude. No, no, don't need it. I'm just walking, guys, kind of thing. We're like, you're in the middle of nowhere, bro. He must have been doing one of these
Yeah,
trails.
absolutely. He was like wearing the straw hat, and I was just like, "Oh, let's give this guy a ride." But yeah, he was like, "No." So he was doing that trail. I think
Nice.
there's a Shikoku walk too. Actually, we
Makes
talked about
sense
on
now.
our last pod or one of our recent pods, and someone had mentioned there's a Shikoku loop. I think that's where the Benton
Oh yeah, they're
Homestead.
somewhere in the north of Ehime. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this trip, let's do Kumano Kodo. I saw there was a couple, and Brett, my old roommate, did this a while ago, so I can ask him. We can do like a guided tour, which I'm out on. We could do a self guided tour where they will book stuff for you, or we can just do it ourselves. Either three. I think we can easily do it ourselves. Honestly, it just requires some
Mariko
coordination.
san.
Yeah, maybe we have someone help us plan it a little bit. But yeah, I think we could
Actually,
do it 3 to 5 days. Mhm.
if anybody, so Mariko san, for everybody out there, is like a VA. She does more work than for us than VA stuff, but I think we found her through LinkedIn. If anybody is I see people popping up on LinkedIn from time to time, usually Japanese women offering virtual assistant services. And we have asked Mariko-san a few times to book stuff like restaurant reservation, so personal stuff outside of the business, restaurant reservations, hotel when Taki's parents went to go stay there. And she's done a phenomenal job. And so just an interesting idea if anybody else wanted to try finding a virtual assistant through LinkedIn and having them help you book maybe a Japan vacation. That's an interesting thing I've never thought of before, but it seems to be working really well with Mariko-san.
Yeah. She booked a haircut for my mom when I needed it, and
Yeah, great.
couple small things that I just like. I don't want to make this phone call and mess it up, and so yeah, she's been super helpful. But Joey, getting back to it, yes, let's do the Kumano Koto this fall. What do you think? October?
Let's do it. Do we? And
Okay.
so that's why I brought up Mariko. Do we want her
Yeah.
to book the hotels for us?
I'm sure we actually have a listener. So if you're a listener, you've made it this far, you've hiked the Kumano Koto. Again, it's probably like, it looks like it's, around Wakayama Prefecture, closer. We'd go to Osaka probably first. But yeah, if a listeners has done this before, has any recommendations, let us know. Me and Joey are pretty easy here. Joey, what's cool is we don't have to carry pack. So we could have a porter service, which is like pretty dope.
I don't want to carry a pack. Let's do the porter service.
True easy mode here. Okay. I say we go no phone during this walk.
Okay,
What do you think?
Craig. So exactly what Craig Maud does in this podcast episode with Tim Ferriss. Yeah, perfect. Yep, no phone.
Okay. We should do like a party or something at the end of it or something. Just invite any listeners. Kumano Kono completion party. Kumano Koto Park.
Kumano Koto Park. So get boards over, get wetsuits over, Kumano Koto. That's the active lifestyle plan.
Yep. And in addition, we are hopefully going to be finishing up our Otaru project. So we'll make a trip up to Hokkaido. We'll get the espresso machine in Tama. A lot of things already.
Yeah. Actually, where did you buy the gadget? That was Amazon, right?
Amazon. Yeah, we could get the Amazon hookup, right, in Japan.
Let's just see if the Amazon.co.jp has it. I'm looking it up right now. If not, we do. Okay, so it does exist on Amazon.co.jp, but we made a friend for listeners. We made a friend actually a few friends on the American bases in Japan, and they've told me that they get American Amazon.com deliveries to the American base in Japan. So that's another little tidbit. If you know of anybody on these bases in Japan and you're good friends with them, and you bought a house in Japan, that is a potential path to get Amazon.com deliveries, because Amazon.co.jp doesn't have the same stuff like Amazon.ca here in Canada. It doesn't have the same stuff as the Amazon store.
All right, let's get this espresso machine. F it, even though we have not. We should wait till we actually close. We should be closing on the Nagasaki property in a couple days.
Yeah, let's wait till we close.
Okay. All right, Joey. So let's get to some business part of the podcast. You ready?
They got the Evo. They have the Gadget Classic Evo, the exact same one you got.
Okay. All right.
What's the business?
Okay, let me go back to all right, transition time, Joey. We are launching a new subscription finally. I know we've talked about it probably for the past year or so, but it is officially rolling out August 1st. What can we expect on AkiyaMart with this new subscription?
All right, my favorite new feature. There's like a bunch of new features. It's, I don't know, 10 new features, let's say. And we've been giving out a lot of these for free to the current existing, I guess not for free, but for existing AkiyaMart Pro subscribers. We've been giving them out for free for now. One, as a thank you for being early users and supporting us when we were getting this business started, but also to test out bugs. So some users have written to me and told me about, hey, this isn't working, that's not working. So very much appreciate that to everybody that wrote out to me as I was launching these new features. Thank you very much, helping get ready for launch day. I'm just the one solo developer here, so it really does help when people report bugs. My favorite new feature coming out, I would say, is I like the alerts, actually, new property alerts. So I have a bunch of, you can basically save a search now on the map given your filters that you've set up, and you'll get an email every time a new property comes on that matches that search. The code that powers the alerts right now runs twice a day. So the 2 opportunities to get new listings delivered to your inbox every day.
For all y'all who are using Zillow, we know this is a Zillow feature that we've been trying. It's been hot hotly requested. But again, Joey's literally the single man army here. But yeah, Joey, great work on the alerts. I think they're going to be super helpful for those hyperactive or specifically like very niche area searchers in particular. I've been
Not
having
quite
a, yeah,
instant like Zillow, but twice a day. Hopefully that's close enough for now.
I literally have an only alert like right in front of this one surf break in Kyushu called Gauda at the very tip in Miyazaki. And I got alert, Joey. As soon as something comes up, I'll let you know.
Nice. I think I've got an alert there too. Yeah, I've got several alerts all over the map. Actually, I personally enjoy the emails. I know some people might maybe just consider it spam, or you don't want. You can always unsubscribe from these alerts too. It's not a set in stone thing. I personally just don't, just switch the alert. I think you can set your settings to whether you want the alert when the property arrives, or you can just turn it off if you just want to save that search but not get the emails.
My favorite feature that we are launching is our historical sales data, or like when was the last listing delisted. I think this just brings Japanese real estate to a different level now. I think as a consumer or user, you don't usually get access to this previously like delisted data. Again, I take that with an asterisk because we don't know exactly how much the property sold for. But this is so helpful. As you look at properties in the neighborhood, you can start looking actively at comps. So I guess this is like the previously sold function on that Zillow would have. But this was a big mission. Joey, you've been collecting this data for a while.
Yeah, and bear with me, everybody. Loading the previously sold is a little slow. I just haven't had time to really figure out exactly why. It's not terribly slow, but just know there's a little bit lag there. It takes some time to load the previously sold. Please just bear with me for the time being. I will get around to investigating that soon. But
I'm excited
yeah,
about this data, man. I don't know if people, I know we've talked about this a couple of times, but I think this very clean data that we can build some more products and insight tools from that I don't think anyone else has access to.
I know we really have no way of figuring this out, but if you had to guess, when we say previously sold, as Take mentioned, small asterisks there, we don't
Big
know.
asterisks.
Or big asterisks. We don't know if the property was actually sold. All we know is that the listing was removed from the Japanese websites, and we don't know the price that it sold for if it did sell. But that being said, Take, what do you how many properties do you think are, let's say, delisted, removed from the Japanese websites that aren't actually a sale? Like 10%, 5%?
It's
Most of them are
like
probably sales, right?
yeah, I would say maybe 10%. But like in what if someone's going to sell a property, would make them delist it. Maybe it's like we've seen. I don't think there's a hesitancy about delisting if it's been up for a long time. I'd say 10%, but again, if someone has a more informed opinion, would definitely like to hear it.
Cool. Yeah, that's definitely a cool feature. One more that I think is really exciting that kind of came last minute. Our friend Eriku-san, Eric, he's starting a new business, Japan Unlocked, coming soon. He's going to be helping with utilities and purchasing cars and registering cars and stuff in your name. That's coming soon. He's getting his business set up. But our friend, and he's helping us out on the sales side of things, Eric said, hey, it would be great if we had satellite view on the map. And actually, I use this all the time. I really like looking at them. I'm always looking at like properties close to water, whether it's rivers or beach towns, that kind of stuff. And it's really nice to see the water on the map in the actual color that water is and the green stuff. So I actually use the satellite view way more than I ever expected. And that isn't something that we planned. Eric just said it one day and it was actually easy to throw on. That's a feature I like a lot too.
Okay, next up, I think this is probably the biggest by most people's view is our Airbnb eligibility insights tool, where we've talked again about it a lot, but taking government data and interpreting. This has been a behemoth project for Joey, Keita, and Miku, who has been helping us look through almost every city in Japan. This one also huge asterisks. This is very hard to interpret per city in Japan. So these are our best guesses based off government data, what we've read on how to interpret those minpaku or short-term rental laws. So you'll see Airbnb eligibility. But Joey, I know you got some thoughts here.
I'm going to go out on a limb and claim that this data is 85% accurate. Just based on so far this map was based on my ability to read Japanese legal this is the Housing and Building Act or whatever these things are called, all these different ordinances, obviously with the help of ChatGPT, but it wasn't like I just gave these laws to ChatGPT and said, hey, tell me what to do. I was trying to translate and understand them myself and then turn that into code a little bit, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm evaluating my own work here and saying 85%, but I do feel that I work quite diligently. So they are not, it's not perfect. These laws are very complicated, way more complicated. Actually, a lot of the complication just comes from the unstructured nature of how everything is put together regarding these laws in Japan. There's no central place you can go and figure out the laws and how it works right now. If you are purchasing a property and are interested in Airbnb it, your real estate agent will literally just call the Hokenjo or the city hall or whatever and one by one per property and ask, hey, can this property be Airbnb'd or not? So there's no like central way to know all across Japan everywhere that you can Airbnb or not. And so that's the problem that we tried to find a solution to here. So very difficult problem. Put in solid effort, and thanks again to Miku and Keita who's been helping us out here. But I think it's very cool. That being said, that's the huge caveat. That being said, what you get is a very simple map overlay. There's 4 colors. There's green, which means you can Airbnb or hotel 365 days of the year. So think in terms of short-term rentals, not Airbnbs. So short-term rental meaning either hotel or Airbnb license. Green means 365 days of the year you can run a short-term rental business. So that's the same as you would expect if you're trying to Airbnb in America or whatever. The next color is yellow. That means 180 days. And this is the national standard. So this will mean no hotel license available, but you are able to Airbnb short-term rental under the National Minpaku law with no added restrictions. So yellow and orange, which is the next color down, are very similar. Yellow is you can run a short-term rental business 180 days, no restrictions. Orange is you can run a short-term rental business 180 days, but added restrictions. So this is a lot of times you'll hear things like, oh, it's very difficult to Airbnb in Kyoto, or it's very difficult to Airbnb in Chiyoda Ward in Tokyo. Not exactly true. These places, Kyoto and Chiyoda Ward, etc., have very large tellable zones in them. So yes, you can buy a property, get a hotel license, and run a short-term rental business for 365 days a year. But when people say, oh, it's difficult to Airbnb in these areas, they're talking about the added ordinances or restrictions from the local ordinances that are tacked onto the Minpaku or Airbnb law. So that's what orange represents. It represents areas where you are subject to the 180-day national law, but there are local added restrictions, usually restricting things like you can only Airbnb Monday to Friday, no weekends, or you can only Airbnb, March to June. I just made those up right there, but added additional restrictions. That's orange. The final one is red, which means banned in these areas. So 0 days a year. You cannot run a short-term rental business, neither Airbnb or a hotel. So green is what you want to aim for. Yellow, it would be the default. Orange, default, but slightly not so great. And then red is just outright, can't do it. That being said, I know like Anton in Japan runs some fantastic Airbnbs in Tokyo. His are in the orange zones. So definitely doable.
Yeah, I think this is, we're never going to get a 100% tool. We've had a couple customers ask, is it ready? Is it ready? And I think this is as ready as it's going to be, but we are continually improving it. We do have someone on Keita who's helping us get even more granular. But I think, again, take this tool with a grain of salt. It is going to get you, I think, 80% of the way there. But as a disclaimer, you 100% need to tell your agent that you're intending to do short-term rental, just so that they can verify with the Gyosei Shoshi, or they can call the office before purchasing.
Yeah, I would exactly. I would use it to help narrow down your search early on, in the sense that let's say you decide that, yes, I want to buy a house in Japan and I want to run an Airbnb, whether that's under the Minpaku license or the hotel license. I would use this tool to find places in the green zone. That's going to be really solid narrowing down for your real estate agent. And then you've already ruled out a ton of properties that aren't going to meet that. Even again, 85% correct. So there may be outliers, false positives and false negatives, but this really help the agent you're working with, both of you, to speed up the process. So instead of wasting time finding properties that you love and then finding out later after the phone call is made to the Hokenjo or city hall that you can't run a short-term rental business there.
Yep. Okay, let's move on to the next filter that has been made. I think this one by popular request is ownership rights filter. So we now show if you own the property, is it a leasehold or is it freehold building or property? I think Joey and I were like, do we need to build this filter? And then we started searching for spots ourselves and we found like, oh, this spot is dope. And then we go so far like emotionally into being, okay, how are we going to get this? And then we find
Yep.
out it's a leasehold. And it was like, okay, we should build that.
Same thing with it, like we were just mentioning with the Airbnb, or like, you go so far down a path and then find out can't be Airbnb, or in this case, you wouldn't own the land. You'd be renting the land from a landlord and paying a fee each month. Yeah. Ownership rights. Do you own the land? It's actually interesting. I should look up what percentage are leasehold. Now that we have the data in our data, I actually have not looked this up yet. If I had to guess, I'm going to say 5%.
It's pretty low, I think. We've gotten feedback that when you click the the ownership rights filter, you can't really tell a difference. And I think realistically, you should almost always have ownership rights filter checked. Joey, I still think we should put this as freehold filter, but we can if you're a listener and you have a specific better naming convention for this ownership rights filter, let us know.
Yeah, I would say, like you mentioned, I think freehold seems to be a standard industry term, and so we should definitely change it to that. The other idea I had was like land ownership rights. I think is like pretty
That
explicit in the words it's using.
Yep, and it's cool. We can tweak that around. But yeah, if any listener has any particular, hey, it should be this way, let us know. Okay, last big chunk. We have a whole bunch of disaster risk filters now.
And Japan has a lot of natural disasters. Yes, we're working on this. So the ones we have right now is landslide. This pulls straight from government data. You'll see yellow zone and red zone, which seems to be the standard ways these are classified in Japan. Red zone, more dangerous than yellow zone. Check that out if you're looking for a property. Do you want to buy something in a landslide zone? Yes or no? Tsunami risk as well. So tsunami is estimated flooding depth from a tsunami. And I don't actually know, I should look this up, but I do know so we're adding flood data soon. And there's a few different metrics that the Japan government measures flood by. And one of the ones we realized through talking with a real estate agent, the way that agents will present this when they do the explanation of important matters document, where they talk about all these different hazards in the area of the house, they use a very like maximum, what's the word, badness scale. So they will look at the 1 in 1,000-year flood. So the government says, okay, what's the estimated flood depth in a once in every 10-year flood? What's the estimated flood depth in a once in every 50-year flood, et cetera? There's lots of different ways they slice and dice it. And we asked our real estate agents which metric they use when they present this. And it seems, I don't know if it was a legal thing or just industry standard, they use the maximum, which is the 1 in 1,000-year flood. And that's what they will present in the explanation of important matters doc. So if I had to guess, tsunami data is likely the same. It's probably the maximum that you can expect, which makes sense because in some rare places, I can't remember exactly where, but I've played around with the tsunami estimated flood depth filter. In some places, it's 50 meters. What's that in feet? 150 feet?
Oh, yeah. Not good.
Not good. Not good.
I was talking to one of our agents who's we verified with him on this information. He's just like, yeah, global warming was his immediate response. He's just like, climate's changing. Japan's acknowledging that, which is good. That I think we are taking the most conservative. Hey, there's a 1 in 1,000 year, and once every 1,000 years there will be a flood here. With the way things are going, it would not surprise me we see some of these mega floods in our lifetime.
That's very true.
Or
things are changing.
50 meter. Is that right?
I could search through the database to actually find it, but yeah, I believe there was 50 meter. Sorry, maybe it was the data's a little bit messy. So sometimes they'll do things like instead of a value, they'll give a range. And for the purposes of displaying the overlay on the map, I had to turn that into just a single value instead of a range. So I think some of them came in from the Japanese government. They would say, okay, in this area, 30 to 50 meters. And I can't remember what I did. I either took the average or I just took the maximum. And so that's where I'm getting the 50 meter from.
Okay. With that very last one, last feature, actually layout and room count filter. This is by popular request. It's been a heated discussion with Joey and I on how do we take Japanese Madori, like room naming conventions, and translate that to Westerners? And there's no perfect solution, but ultimately we decided to just keep it simple. So typically you'll see on the listings like 4LDK. What does that mean, Joey?
Did we keep it simple? So we kept it simple in the way that we're presenting you the information that you would see it on a Japanese website. We didn't try to doctor anything or do any cultural conversion to a Western audience, that was part of our debate. Do we translate what 4 LDK means into a 2 bedroom, 2 bath for the way we think about housing in the Western world? And what we did in the end is we did not do that. So we still present it'll look like 4 LDK, 2DK, etc. So what this means, and just a heads up, everybody, kind of doesn't make any sense. I'm just going to tell you how it works. But there's a little bit of information. I would say it's like 50% signal, 50% noise here. So there's two parts. There's a number, and then there's a series of letters. So, for example, let's do 3 LDK, which seems to be the most common one I see in housing. So 3 LDK. 3 means the number of rooms in the house, not including the kitchen. So 3 LDK, 3 rooms plus kitchen is what that means. The LDK part refers to the kitchen. So this is just how they break it up. The L comes from the word living room, the D comes from the word dining room, and the K comes from kitchen. And this actually refers to the size of the kitchen. Not that you're getting, it's not that if you see 3 LDK, you have 3 rooms and then you have a living room and a dining room and a kitchen. No, it's 3 rooms plus a kitchen. LDK means a large kitchen. A DK means a medium-sized kitchen, and a K just means a kitchen. So if you say 3 LDK, it's 3 rooms plus a large kitchen. 2 DK, 2 rooms plus a medium-sized kitchen, and so on. The complication comes from those rooms that are not the kitchen. Are they bedrooms or are they not bedrooms? That is the real complication. And I don't think you can say yes or no to that question. Sometimes they are bedrooms, sometimes they are not. I think when it comes to condos, they are bedrooms. I think 95% of the time, if you are looking at condos and you see a 2 DK, it's going to be 2 bedrooms and a medium-sized kitchen, for example. Homes in Japan can sometimes be a little bit funky. And I think that's where sometimes you would my test for a bedroom is, would I put a bed in this room? Like, yes or no. So for example, our house in Beppu, the room we call the upstairs chill room, there's 3 rooms on the upstairs, but to get to one of the rooms, you have to walk through. There's one room that you have to walk through to get to the 2 other rooms. So we use those 2 other rooms as bedrooms, and then the chill room that I'm talking about, kind of like an upstairs living room. But if you put a bed in that room, you'd be walking through somebody's bedroom to get to another bedroom, which doesn't make sense to us, or I would wager to say most people. So that would be considered part of the other rooms, 3 DK, but I would only say it's 2 bedrooms. So just be aware, this is the system they use, and it's pervasive. Every Japanese website, listings website, you'll see this Madori, it's called, or I guess layout. The last thing I'll say on that is, if you look at, so I was trying to figure out how other English language real estate's websites present this information. And so I was looking at one, eHousing. They focus mostly on rental units, I believe, in Tokyo. So a little bit more on the luxury end of things. If you're looking for a luxury condo in Tokyo, maybe check out eHousing. But what they did is interesting. They literally, because it is mostly condos, I think they get away with it. They literally just say the number part. So in a 3 LDK, they just say 3 bedroom, which I
Yep.
believe makes sense for condos. 95% of the time, I think that's going to be correct. But for houses, doesn't quite make sense.
Yep. Well, we've taken a stab at it. It's going to need a little bit more education built around it, I think, for sure. And I think I'm still personally, I get it wrong. When I'm looking at a house, I'm trying to be okay, this is a 5 LDK. And then you look at the photos okay, I'm not sure if it's my error or it's the listing error, but yeah, I think at least we have a searchable filter now to try to filter out 5 rooms.
I think it works in this sense. If you want, let's say here's a personal example, like me and Take, sometimes we're oh, do we sell TBC, our house in Tama City, Western Tokyo, and buy maybe a condo downtown because we spend so much time downtown Tokyo with the business and meeting people. we would want to buy a condo, a little bit easier since it is a condo, but we want to buy a condo with 2 bedrooms. So we can use our own filter, the Midori filter, the filter for 2+ on the room number of room size, and then any size kitchen. And that would at least meet our criteria there of 2 bedrooms. So 2+ rooms plus any size kitchen.
Whew. Okay, we've learned a lot about Japanese real estate, baby. But that was our last filter, and we will, Joey, congrats. This has been a work in progress for, I think, the past year or something. But we are launching this new subscription plan. It's going to be called AkiyaMart Pro, August 1st. So T minus 6 days. If you are, I think I'm posting this probably next week, but be sure to check it out, subscribe, let us know what else you want us to build. We have a couple things up our sleeve. I think we've gotten a lot of requests to build, like, how much is this Akiya going to cost if I buy it? We recognize that calculators are necessary. So that's up on the roadmap. We have a really big redesign coming. It's crazy. Like, a lot of our friends we go our separate ways, but they're so accomplished. We have some friends that are in the growth product manager and like design space that are helping us redesign our homepage. So that I'm pretty pumped about.
Yeah, last thing on the subscription. So as Taki mentioned, all those features are going under our Pro subscription. We are raising the price, but we are introducing a basic option, a more affordable option, which if you just want to browse property, don't care about any of the things we just spoke about, all these extra features, you just want to look at listings, we are coming out with, we're calling it AkiyaMart Basic, a cheaper subscription tier where you just get unlimited access to the catalog of listings, and also I believe you get the property alerts too, which I think was my favorite feature.
Hell yeah, I'm excited. We've been calling this Subs V3 for the past, I don't know, 6 months. That it's good for us to finally get it out. If you're a listener, you'll see this on the site. You'll see the email. We're going to probably do a LinkedIn post on it. We should brainstorm on that, Joey.
Yeah.
Marketing as a small 2-person business has been a big learning experience. Like, what channels work for us, what to focus on. Yeah. Any initial thoughts on marketing and as a small business owner, Joey?
It's been really interesting. I think most of my thoughts are around the tech side of marketing a little bit. It's really interesting writing code for marketing. As I was a mostly back end engineer, I did some front end as well, but I mostly focused on back end engineering throughout my career. And doing front end marketing I've never thought about building websites for robots. So a lot of how you get your website out there into and people seeing it comes down to Google search and other search engine searches. So search engine optimization. And essentially what you do is you build your website so that it is understandable both to human users, which is the normal way we think about websites, but also if a robot, a Google bot, were to look at your website, it can easily understand what the page is about, find more pages, and then Google hopefully goes and indexes it. It's a little bit of voodoo. How do you please the Google bot? There's tons of strategies out there, and this was all new to me. So it really does feel like you build 2 websites, one for robots and one for humans.
I think it feels like a game a little bit, right? And it's like we try to make something, but it's also like you gotta, in order to get distribution of your product and for it to be easily seen, you have to please the robots.
Yeah. Very interesting. One last sort of thought on Subs V3 or launching all these new features since we're talking about it is that as a solo, this is talking to engineers out there, if anybody else is a software engineer and thinking about building a business yourself, one thing that I learned is the complication gets out of hand. Say you're trying to launch like 10 new features and charge a premium subscription tier for those new features. The complication gets so out of hand if you're trying to do like a big launch day and launch everything at once, which, when I was working for other companies with 50, 80, 100 different software engineers across the entire organization, they can afford to do that because there's a lot of different people that are there managing all the complexity. But when you're just one person, it doesn't make sense to hold it all back. And what we chose to do was, hey, as a feature was complete, I just launched it out there to everyone that was an existing subscriber and merge that code, deploy it, let it run. People will report bugs. You'll fix stuff as you go. The complexity is just so much easier to maintain in your own head versus get it one massive PR or having a ton of feature flags everywhere just to launch everything at once. It's not worth it. I think just build and launch as you go. And then at a certain point, if you did want to charge more under a premium tier, then add that tier as the last thing. And users will be happy. They get to test out free stuff. You are happy. You get people reporting bugs before launch day, and the complexity just way, way lower.
Yeah, I think once we made that decision, it seemed like there's like a relief with you. And I saw that we pushed things quite quickly, but also that like some
We
of
move so
users,
fast.
yeah, our users have been giving us some great feedback. Like things are broken, people are pointing out bugs. So please, if you're listening to this and you're a power user, please keep on doing that. Again, Joey's changing the site like every day I think it's been incredible. We look at our previous how-to video and it's like, it's night and day what the website looked like a year ago versus today.
Oh yeah,
Great
go
job,
check it out.
Joey.
It's in the about if anybody wants to see a blast from the past. 2023 AkiyaMart. It's under go to about and then watch the Vimeo video. A little cringe probably.
A little cringe, but it's okay. It's cool. Our first podcasts are cringe. This podcast is going to be cringe a couple years from now when we listen back. All right, Joey, I'm excited. Great job with Subs V3. It's now time to send it out in the world. And again, listeners, if you have any feedback, please let us know. You guys are our biggest supporter, and thank you for not only using our site, but listening to our podcast. Smash that like button.
Yeah.